All right, hey, welcome back everybody, and welcome to mid-June's video. So here it is, Saturday, June 14th, and I am just getting around to starting the segments for this part of the monthly video. And it is, let's see, 82 degrees, 79%, and it's just about 1 o'clock. And the reason why you haven't really seen too much is because we've had a ton of rain over the last few days. And in fact, I had an event scheduled with the Intrepid Spirits program on Camp Lejeune, who partnered with the Alpha Wave Project, just to give transitioning service members therapy options. And one of the options they wanted to explore was beekeeping. So that was scheduled yesterday for 1 o'clock, and sure enough, right at 12:30, it starts to pour. So that's being rescheduled tentatively for the 26th or 27th, whatever that Friday is. So we shall see. But I do have a few things to do. One of those very simple things, I just want to get out to the yard very quickly. If you can't hear the thunder, just quickly assess the front entrance activity, and possibly at the very least for today, inch swarm number, I think 11, inch them just a little closer to the electric fence, with the intent for possibly tomorrow to get into them. They've been in that stacked 5-frame nuke configuration since about May 26th, so here very soon, about 3 weeks. So I'm anticipating they definitely need some space. I would like to get them moved into a 10-frame box and then add another box on top so they can continue to grow. All right, enough of me yapping. Let's get out to the yard quickly, because I feel it's about to pour. Trying to show you this real quick, if it comes up. Hopefully it does, but they are very, very active. All right, let's go check out the entrances real quick. All right, so that's nice to see. They seem pretty active, especially the very first one, number 12. And the first thing that comes to mind is they are not bearding as much, so hopefully that's due to the flight activity, and I'm sure the weather factors in. But yeah, let's just walk along the front here, check out all the entrances. Nothing looks unusual so far. Okay, yeah, so far so good. Here's number 11, swarm number 11, that I numbered as number 16. And as you can see, they really don't have too far to go. But I'm just gonna move them a few more feet, maybe 2 or 3 feet, just to get them a little closer to the yard. And that's it for today, since we got some rain moving in. That is all I am really gonna be able to do today. So as you can see, they are pretty darn close. I think the next step is possibly tomorrow, get into them, move them, hopefully move them down into a 10-frame box, or into a 10-frame box, since they need the space. So the reason I say all that, if you haven't caught the videos earlier this year, is I'll catch a swarm, I'll try to get them into a stacked 5-frame nuke configuration for at least a week or two. Longer is actually better, because it gives them all that time to really draw out the frames. So I'll take the 5 frames from the swarm trap, move it into the bottom box. I'll add a second box, as you can see here, with 5 brand new frames. And what I've noticed over the course of 2 weeks or more, depending on the colony strength and the nectar resources in the area, but there is a good chance that box, the top box, will be completely drawn out, which is what I'm really hoping for. So I guess we'll find out possibly as early as tomorrow. All right, hey, welcome back everybody. So here it is, Thursday, June 19th, right after 4 o'clock. Temperature is 91 degrees, humidity is 67%, and it's that time of year I'm gonna start talking about heat indexes, and the heat index is 107. So hey, with how slow mid to late June has been going, or at least mid-June, I think I'm gonna roll mid-June and late June's video just into one. So I don't really have anything to do today, but I'm gonna throw on my hat and veil, walk out to the yard, just take a look at the hives to see kind of how they're doing. Maybe inch swarm number 11, which I tagged as hive number 16, version 2. Maybe move them just a little closer to the electric fence, with the intent of getting them moved into some equipment and onto the bee stand maybe in the next few days or so. All right, let's take a quick trip out to the yard and just kind of see what the hives are up to. One of the main chores I really need to do, considering the time of year, and I pulled honey about 2 weeks ago now. I've just been a little delayed on things, mainly due to the weather. We've had, well, we went from having really not a lot of rain at all to a lot of rain. Things are finally kind of settling down. There's quite a few dry days in our future. The wetlands back here are also drying up some, which just makes it a little easier to get back here. But the one chore I really need to get to that I've put off is treating the hives. And considering it's been a few months since I've treated them, the plan is going to be to treat them once every 5 days for 4 or 5 sessions, which should really get the mites under control. But let's take a look at the hives real quick. Yeah, they're busy. They're still working away. All right, let's walk around and see what the entrances look like. All right, so I have noticed this over the last few weeks coming out here, which is the bearding. Look at the bearding on the nuke. And they've been in that nuke for a little bit, so it's probably time I move them into a 10-frame box. And the rest of the hives that have some bearding or a little bit of washboarding going on, it's probably just because of the temperatures. But let's check out this other nuke down here. Yeah, that's a good candidate for possibly to move them into a 10-frame box. And then we have number 16, swarm number 11, still doing their thing. They've been in there for probably a month now, so that's another one I need to really give some consideration to get into a 10-frame. All right, yeah, just a quick look for about the third week of June. So here in the next few days, like I said, definitely gonna treat, and then it looks like I have at least the 2 nukes that are that have been in the yard. They look like they need some more space, and then number 16, I can probably put them straight into a single deep, just to give them some adequate space. Hard to talk this afternoon, but yeah, they are still pretty darn busy. I'm curious to see if they've found any nectar sources for this time of year and packed away in the supers that I put back on now about 2 weeks ago. All right, hey, welcome back everybody. So here it is, Saturday, June 21st, right after 11 o'clock. The temperature is 85 degrees. The humidity is, I had to double check on that one, 67%. It definitely doesn't feel like it. It feels a lot more humid than the than the weather app says. So hey, check it out. The last inspection was June 6th. I had the bright idea of going through, I needed to as well, and equalizing all the hives regarding inspection cycles via hive tracks, and that was over 2 weeks ago. Most hives are at 15 days, so I definitely need to go through them all, inspect them, and then based off my notes from last time, hives 2, 4, and 5 were queenless, so they did have some developing queen cells then. They should definitely have a laying queen by now, so that's something I need to remember to check on for those. And then the few nukes, there's 2 on the hive stand, and then the swarm, which is still on the ladder from probably a month ago at this point. My plan is to get them moved into 10-frame equipment, because here very soon, probably not this weekend, maybe next weekend, I need to start feeding the colonies, because it's that time of year. Our nectar flow is pretty much over, or it should be over soon, and then we'll enter a dearth for a few months. So in order to allow the colonies to keep building and thriving, because I do plan on making some splits maybe towards the end of July, they definitely need food and resources in order to build up. And then for the few colonies that have multiple supers, mainly mediums, there might be a deep or 2, I plan on equalizing those. So for instance, the nukes that I plan on moving into 10-frame equipment, I also plan on adding one of those established mediums to them. And with that said, it is also time to remove all the queen excluders, and I like to give the colonies full reign between the deep box and the medium, so the queen can just expand the brood chamber up into the medium. I've done that for a few years now, and I think it's helped, at least it's helped me overwinter the colonies. So let me get a few things together. Mainly some deep boxes and frames. And yeah, let's get out into the yard for a later June full inspection. All right, let's see how things are looking. They are busy, busy, busy. This is quite surprising for me to see how busy they are. So this is what I was saying. The nuke, definitely, it looks like they can use some space. This is some really nice entrance activity. They all seem very active. But there are a few key things I need to check on, like I mentioned in the introduction. Yeah, that nuke. Oh yeah, forgot, I have 3 nukes. So essentially, four colonies. The 3 nukes that are on the hive stand, totally forgot about that. And then of course, the swarm that has been here for quite a while. I just saw a bee bringing in some pollen, so they're definitely feeding brood. That's the other thing I forgot about with that nuke. I did not find the queen when I transferred them from the swarm trap into the nuke setup there. I did not find the queen, which means she is still unmarked and unclipped. So I need to remember that for when I transfer them into some 10 frame equipment today. All right. Only judging by front entrance activity, I'd say the colonies are doing pretty darn well. However, like I said in the introduction, there's about 3 colonies that I need to check to ensure they have become queen right, which means I also have to mark and clip some queen wings. And if they haven't, I will definitely have to intervene and give them a chance to become queen right by moving a few frames of eggs over. But yeah, let's get the smoker lid and let's get to it. All right, this is worth a first look. They have, I mean, severely and strongly really sealed up this colony. But check this out, I just cracked the inner lid apart. Look at that, look at the wax built on the bottom side. And in fact, I think this was a brand new box. Maybe they had some frames slightly drawn, but I'm gonna pull a few just out of curiosity. It looks like they've put in a lot more work over the last 3 weeks or so. Yeah, they're doing a nice job. This is one of those newer frames right here, just blank foundation. I waxed all these pretty nice and they've continued to really draw them out. This might be, considering this was one of the newer boxes, this might be a good box to add to one of the nukes like I was saying. And with that said, the bottom box, the bottom medium, is not a new one. I know this was one of the ones that I harvested. Holy smokes. There might be another harvest in the near future. That is a lot of, that's a lot of wax. New wax, because look how clean it is. The top portion that I can see right now doesn't look like it is capped, but I'm gonna pull a frame or two and try to see if there's another harvest in my future. Yeah, check this out. There are quite a few frames. They have been backfilling. They fixed these frames up from the harvest and they've been backfilling them. So there's a good chance I might pull this box at the end of June or maybe sometime even in July or August. Yeah, I'm just gonna let this one go for now and just let them do their thing. All right, quick change of plans to today's game plan. Number 12 threw me off. I was not expecting that. So I'm gonna choose not to get into the deep box to disturb them. So I'm not gonna conduct an actual inspection today. Those 2 boxes look great. So in fact, again, like I was saying earlier, some clips throughout the month and then this morning, right? So in fact, given how well they are doing and how active they've been, the plan for the nukes are the same. I need to get them into some 10 frame equipment. But yeah, for today, I'm just gonna pop the top and take a look at the honey supers. And if they are bringing in as much food, nectar, and soon to cure it like number 12 looks, I think that's all I'm going to do for today, and then shift gears and conduct a full inspection maybe next weekend. All right, down at number 1, if you can see that or not, that shiny stuff in the cells is nectar. So yeah, no kidding. They are still bringing in some nectar, which is awesome. So yeah, okay. In comparison to years in the past, I was not expecting this. This is absolutely fantastic. So like I said on the previous hive, I'm just gonna let them work, just let them do their thing, and shift gears to possibly inspecting next week. I really don't want to disturb them if they're doing just fine. So I guess today's inspection, man, of course there's always some bird that wants to just be loud because it knows I'm trying to share this with y'all. I'm just gonna look at the few colonies that I noted as queenless from about 2 weeks ago, and then just take care of the nukes by getting them into some 10 frame equipment. I'm gonna pop the tops on all the hives and do the same, just really check the honey supers. But yeah, if they have a lot of wet frames, I'm just gonna let them do their thing and then give them a week or two before really getting into them for a full inspection. All right, down here at number 2, and the green arrows, if you haven't caught previous videos, those indicate queen cells. And then when I put a slash on the top bar, that indicates a frame that I brought over from another colony. They seem pretty calm for now, which is a good indication they have a queen, but I've also noticed that can change real quick. The 2 mediums they have on, they haven't really done too much work in them, so one of these 2 doesn't really matter. They're both kind of the same. One of these 2 is a good candidate to help get number 24 up and running once I move them over into a 10 frame, but let's pull a few frames. I'm primarily looking for eggs. If I see eggs, then I'm gonna look for a queen so I can get her marked and clip a wing. All right, just finished going through all 10 frames, and surprisingly, looks can be deceiving. No brood, no eggs, all the signs, they are still not queen right. So I'm gonna think about what I want to do as I move through the rest of the colonies, and my current thoughts, if I wanted to do something right now, I'm thinking about just taking the nukes and using those queens in those 5 frames really to get colonies like this healthy again, because without looking at the app and the calendar and everything, it's been quite a few weeks, and we're starting to get on that well, we're starting to enter that time frame or that timeline where it's getting kind of dangerous, because the amount of time they've been queenless to where the queen's pheromone has completely dissipated by now. In fact, I think I read something recently that says a queen's pheromone can dissipate in like maybe a day or 2, so it doesn't take long, if that's true. Point being, the topic of a laying worker comes to mind, which if you have not experienced that before, count your lucky stars, because it is pretty annoying to try and correct. It's really disappointing when you open a hive and you determine you have a laying worker, because of the amount of either multiple eggs, not just 1 or 2, but like several, you can't miss it, in a cell. Or if you don't even see that, a quick sign is drone brood in places where drone brood shouldn't be, which is like the center of a frame, right? So yeah, so number 2, I'm gonna think about that as I go through the rest of the colonies. Hopefully the other 2 or 3 have become queen right, but yeah, I don't know. Who knows what happened? They had a ton of queen cells. I moved a frame of eggs. It looks like they didn't even develop any queen cells on that frame. So not sure, because it is like a prime time of year for a new queen to emerge, take their mating flight, mate, return, and start the cycle again. So who knows? There's a ton of things that could have happened. It's impossible to determine what happened, but yeah, hopefully the other 2 or 3, right? Hopefully they are not in the same scenario, but yeah, it gives me some time to think about what I want to do. So stay tuned and kind of see what I ended up doing with this one. if I seemed kind of surprised when I got into number 12, the established medium box, and saw all the new wax, check this out on, what is this, number 11. Holy cow. They practically filled, well, maybe not filled, but they are actively working this super again. That is amazing. Look at all that beautiful wax. All right, by no means am I trying to make today's video longer than it probably should be because of the lack of videos throughout mid to late June so far, but I just wanted to show you all this real quick. So down here at number 20, and I specifically remember this one because it was, I think, swarm number 10, well, considering 11 is still in the box. This was swarm number 10, maybe around late April, give or take. Added them to actually a double stacked nuke box for the better part of 3 weeks, and they completely drew out all 10 frames. Absolutely beautiful. Moved those 10 frames into the deep box that you see there. Added another deep box of newly waxed frames during the nectar flow so they can draw that out. They did, and about 2 weeks ago I made the decision to add a queen excluder because of the amount of nectar they were already storing in the top box along with some brood and everything. I need to check the top box for eggs because I don't remember if I isolated the queen to the bottom box. Hopefully I did. And if y'all saw that, this was the first frame that I pulled right here. But what I really want to show you is this next one. And my idea from about 2 weeks ago was given, oh yeah, and look at that next one too. They are doing a great job, and this is a heavy frame, so that might be fully capped in another few weeks, which is fantastic. And it looks like they're doing the same for a few other frames. But yeah, like I said, let me look for some eggs, and if I don't see any, I'm going to assume she's down in the bottom box. But yeah, they are doing a fantastic job. This just, I mean, this is purely nature at work and just incredible. Holy smokes. Yeah, just incredible to see. All right, down here at number 6, I mean, check out this queen's laying pattern. And in fact, the other frames that aren't capped yet, I mean, it's like every single cell. And I finally found her. She is unmarked, unclipped, so you know what I'm gonna do next. But yeah, it's been quite a while since I found this queen. All right, I just got done going through number 6's bottom box. So they have a feeder and 8 frames. She's laying down there too. There's a lot of nectar and pollen, which nectar they'll move around. Pollen, I don't believe colonies will. So I don't want to cause any problems. So I'm gonna leave them configured as is. And in fact, since I know number 14's top box, they're not really doing too much with it, I added a queen excluder to number 6, and then I'm just going to move number 14's top box over to number 6 once I get number 6's queen marked and her wing clipped. She's doing a fantastic job, and honestly, I thought about adding a queen excluder between the two deeps so the brood in the top box could hatch out, they could backfill it, but given the time of year, I don't know if there's really a lot of time to do that, so I'm just going to let things be for those reasons, right? Just causing less problems of my own myself, and then yeah, just move the medium box over and they should be good to go. All right, she's all set. I'm just helping it dry off a little bit, but yeah, she's a nice looking one, and she is putting in some work, which is great. Still need to fix this foam part. This thing's old. This thing's lasted quite a few years. I mean, it's still good. The foam piece just kind of became separated from the plastic plunger at some point, but as you can see, it doesn't really cause any problems. All right, let's get her released here in a second. Actually, we'll just do that now. Hopefully she's not one that takes her sweet time getting out. Doesn't look like it. Oh, just kidding. She's making another round in the marker. the marking tool. Where did she go? Oh, she's still in there, yeah. Alright, let's see. Just crawl out. That's all I gotta do. As more bees crawl in. And there she goes right there. Yeah, they're already checking out her dot. They're like, this was not there a few minutes ago. And there she is right there. They do this a lot. There she goes. Okay, she's down in there now. Alright, so far today is moving a lot faster than I initially thought it would, mainly because I am not conducting a full inspection on the majority of the hives. In fact, I think I've conducted one, for sure, maybe 2 full inspections. So with that said, number 4 and 5 right here next to each other, these are the colonies that were queenless from about 2 weeks ago. And I've decided to get into them last. Considering how quickly everything's going, I'm just gonna semi-breeze through the rest of the colonies, checking for, well, just checking the top boxes to see how much or how little nectar they're bringing in. And then, like I said, finish up with 4 and 5 to determine if they're queen right. If they're not, form another plan. And honestly, going through number 6 recently, the top box, now that they have a marked queen, she'll be easier to find. But given the amount of frames they have with very young eggs and larvae, I may use them as a resource hive to transfer just one frame into number 2, and then potentially 4 and 5 if they are still queenless. So that's my plan moving forward, really, just because that is the most recent, if not the only hive I fully inspected today. But again, I'm just gonna bypass 4 and 5, move on down the line, just checking the top boxes to see the nectar stores, and then circle back and finish with 4 and 5 for inspection purposes, because I have to see if they're queen right, and then possibly finish today, if not roll this to tomorrow, by getting the 4 nukes, if you count the swarm over on the ladder, into some 10 frame equipment. And as I say that almost sounds like a tomorrow problem. All right, down on number 9, which is the third to last of the established colonies. And let's recap on June 6th inspection notes, because it's worth talking about. So I said I went through the bottom box, the bottom deep twice, still couldn't find the queen. I found brood in one of the supers. That's what threw me through a loop last time, because last time was when I was really trying to pull supers, and or the week after I was going through to inspect them. Found brood in one of the supers last week, actually, so when I was pulling the supers. Due to that, the queen excluder is now above the bottom medium, which is true, so it's configured as a deep and a medium, then the queen excluder, then another medium, which was the established one, and then a deep. So just like a few of the other colonies, in fact, let me show you. What is this, number 7? Decided to pull that deep because they're really not doing much with it. Number 17, and the one down there came from, I believe, 14, possibly, one of these. So this is actually working out pretty nice. I'm gonna have a few extra frames that I need to store. I'll just put those in some Pro Nukes. But what's working out nice is some of these deeps that I added to the colonies quite a few weeks ago, the colonies have started to draw some wax, if not drawn some very nice frames with wax over the last few weeks. And coincidentally, depending how this next one goes with the deep on there, but I need 4 deeps to transfer the nukes and the swarm over into deep boxes. So I'm glad I didn't bring a lot of boxes out with me, because I almost did to prepare for today's inspection. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't, because again, the deeps that I've had on quite a few hives for several weeks now, I'm gonna use those to get the nukes moved over. So let's get into this next one. Hopefully they fixed whatever they had going on, but again, when I was going to pull supers for the purpose of harvesting honey, the very last few days of May, if not, I think it was June 1st on a Saturday, it threw me through a loop to find brood above the queen excluder. Yeah, let's see how the last 2 weeks have treated them now. All right, so far so good. If you can see that, just like one of the previous ones, a lot of nectar. And I jumped straight to the middle frames of the box above the queen excluder, and it looks like that has stabilized. Yeah, they're actually, man, that's amazing. They're actually capping some. The reason I say that looks like it's stabilized because if you were to find brood, it would be basically in that section. So let's get this box pulled, get down into the next medium box, which will be below the queen excluder, and see if they have any eggs. I'm really just checking to see if they're queen right, but honestly, if I can get the queen excluder down on top of the deep box to get things back to how they should be, I would be happy with that today. Got some drone comb, but yeah, check this out. Y'all can see that. Man, they are bringing in something. That is wet. Let me show you the top bars if that didn't come up on camera. I just happened to turn that frame over to look for eggs, and I mean, it was just dripping. So I'm still down here in the medium box that has become part of the brood chamber, and they have some nice brood frames. They also have some nice food frames, but I am looking for a queen, and honestly, I'm initially scanning each frame for a blue dot or green, and if I don't see that right away, I'm then shifting gears to looking for an unmarked queen. But they're doing a good job. It's just a matter of kind of figuring out what's going on with them. And I still have to get into the bottom box too, so there's a good chance she's down there somewhere. Yeah, doesn't look like she's in this box. So maybe I'll be able to get them kind of configured right again. If I can find her in the bottom box, I'll add the queen excluder, and then the bees will backfill. They'll backfill all these cells with nectar once the brood hatches out, if there's still a nectar flow in the next few weeks, which for us in our area here historically, that would be different. That would be pretty impressive. But it seems like every year is slightly different, sometimes drastically different. But yeah, let's get into the bottom box. All right, as I finish up in the deep box, went through all 8 frames, and very impressively did not find the queen. She has continued to evade me for I don't even know how long. I think we're probably approaching a month. I mean, they're queen right for sure. They have enough signs of well, they have a queen. So what I am going to do, I'm going to shake the medium frames into the deep box, since there is a chance she could be in there and I overlooked her. So I'm going to do that real quick and then get them all put back together. All right, just finished shaking all of the bees that were in the bottom medium box, which was serving as part of the brood chamber due to the last inspection scenario or situation that I came across. So, well, let me back up. I did that because I couldn't find the queen. So in the event that she just happened to be in the medium box and I looked over, I wanted to take the time to shake all the frames down into the deep box. So hopefully she's down there now. And now that colony is configured traditionally with the queen excluder between the medium boxes and the deep. Over the next few weeks, just like the other ones, the brood will hatch out of that bottom medium box, and depending when that happens, maybe there will still be enough of a nectar source out there for the bees, that they can backfill those cells. So TBD for now. That'll probably be an early July inspection or part of that video, so stay tuned for that one. All right, just finished up with phase 1, which was going through all the colonies, checking the supers and determining whether or not I need to inspect the colony. But if I determine the bees are packing away the nectar, I just left them alone, like as y'all saw. So what could phase 2 be? Well, honestly, I got pretty excited to be finishing up because I can hear my kids in the backyard, which is right there, playing in a pool and a slip and slide we bought. And I thought, yes, I'm almost done. I'll go play with them. But as I look down, I forgot number 4 and 5. I still need to get through them and determine if they are queen right. So we're gonna call that phase 2. Going through those two, even though I went through the other one, which was number 2. But as I transitioned my plan today, phase 2 is going to be determining if those two are queen right. Phase 3 will be getting them queen right if they're not. And then phase 4 for today or tomorrow will be moving the nukes into some 10 frame equipment, which, as y'all saw and heard, coincidentally, I have, well, now I have 5 boxes. So 1, 2, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then maybe I'll make a split. I don't know. Or maybe I'll just put the deep back in storage. But yeah, I added some deeps. These aren't necessarily the colonies they came off of. I moved some around. Well, mainly I moved that deep down to that nuke, since that's what I plan on doing. And that doesn't matter. But yeah, I decided to remove some deeps, mainly if the bees just weren't really doing anything with them, since the nectar flow is coming to an end for the most part. If they're really not working the deeps aggressively, which all but one were, but I still decided to pull that deep because I can easily use that for a nuke. Yeah, not a bad plan. And then we got this going on. This is I don't know. I'm very curious to see what happens over the next few hours. This was, don't quote me, number 9 or 7. I think it's number 9, maybe 7. That's the one that I removed one of the deeps, and then I decided to shake all the bees from the medium down into the deep, because that one medium, it just, I don't know what happened 2 weeks ago. Found brood in it, found eggs, couldn't find a queen, so I moved the queen excluder up. But considering it's been a few weeks, I wanted to get them configured how most of them are, with a single brood chamber and then a few mediums. So let's finish up phase whatever, I think I said phase 2, by checking on 4 and 5, or checking 4 and 5 to see if they are queen right. And then I am definitely going to take a break, and if I decide to come out later today, that will be to get the nukes moved into 10 frame equipment, or that might just become a tomorrow thing. I'm kind of playing it by ear right now. But surprisingly, you won't even believe this, and it's gone because I can't even show it. A snake just fell right there. No kidding. Where did that even come from? I don't know, and I'm sure it's gone because it hit the ground pretty hard. It was a thud. Oh no, it's right there. No kidding. What in the world? Like, where did that come from? I don't see any birds or hawks or anything, so no kidding, it fell out of a tree. Wouldn't that be something? Out here inspecting colonies, worried about stepping on a snake, and you have a snake fall on you from a tree. Good lord. Okay, anyway, yeah, if I decide to come out later today because I need a break, maybe I'll do the nukes, or maybe that'll just turn into a tomorrow thing. Stay tuned to find out. All right, just finished up with number 4. Unfortunately, they're still queenless, so I need to think about how I want to go about getting them queen right. And I'm down here at number 5 to finish up, and I just wanted to remind y'all, this is what number 5 looked like last time. All of those arrows were queen cells, and in fact I can see a lot of very nice new wax down there. So of the 3, if I can get one that has become queen right, I'd be happy with that. But you don't know until you get in. You don't know until you get in them. So let's do that and Let's keep our fingers crossed. All right, so as you can see, this frame had 19 queen cells, right? And the last inspection was about, I think about 2 weeks ago. So this side, just like the first 2 frames as well, a lot of food, nice new wax and food. But look at this. Where did all those queen cells go? I just wanted to show you all that, to show you that within a matter of weeks, if you don't have a way to make a note of where a hive had queen cells at, sometimes they'll tear them down pretty quickly. So let's look at this one. This side had, what, 6, had 10. Yeah, gone. If I didn't mark the top bars, I'd have no idea that they had queen cells. All right, so far no signs they're queen right, which is honestly pretty amazing. This is the first frame. I need to get my flashlight. This is the first frame that does not have a ton of nectar stored. So let me grab my flashlight. And like I said, let's keep our fingers crossed. Holy smokes. We have a queen. All right, game on. Now it's a matter of finding her. And considering how nice some of these frames look, I'm also keeping in mind I might use some of these frames to get the other queenless hives queen right, or at least, you know, try to. But yeah, we are looking for an unmarked queen between 2 deep boxes, which, if you haven't watched the channel before, I have not kept my hives configured as double deeps in years for that one reason alone. I like running single brood chambers as 1 deep because it makes inspections a lot easier and a lot quicker to go through. All right, not to bore y'all to death, but I need to go through every single frame, and if I can get her, if I can find her, I'll get her marked, clip a wing, and isolate her to the bottom box, mainly because of frames like this. Check that out. This entire side is nothing but nectar, which is fantastic. All right, stay tuned. I don't know why I don't jump to the very last frame, because that's where you find her most of the time. Just hanging out on the frame. She has no real business on. All right, very cool, very cool. So yeah, I'm definitely going to get this hive configured back to being a single brood chamber. And the nice thing is that top deep box, just like one of the other ones, they have had that for quite a few weeks and during enough of a semi-decent nectar flow that they have not only built a lot of wax, but they've also stored a lot of food. So that could easily become another deep that I harvest at this point sometime in July. But yeah, awesome. All right, so 1 out of the 3 colonies that were queenless from about 2 weeks ago have a queen. So 33%, not bad. I just need to fix the other 2 and then all is well in the world. All right, number 5 is back in business. Just let her dry off, get her released. Queen excluder's going above the bottom deep, and there's enough time. This might turn into a full super, and that's at least full 100 pounds. I'd take 50. Half of that box as harvestable honey here in a few weeks, I'd be good with that. All right, I'm just gonna let her dry off and we'll get her back in there. All right, let's see. Here we go. Hopefully she doesn't linger like most of them. Come on. All right, there she goes. And she's in there. All right, here I am for round 2 or phase 3, I think I said earlier. So it's about 5:50. Temperature is 88 degrees. The humidity is 67%, and the heat index, believe it or not, it says it's 100, which is kind of hard to believe because it actually feels pretty good back here. It's also quite shaded with the sun setting in the west and kind of below some of the tree line. Yeah, so I'm out here just getting things set up. I need to grab another set of 2 bottom boards, inner covers, top covers, and feeders for the 4 colonies and nukes. So we got this one partially set up, and then the 2 down there. And my plan, I've been thinking about this, my plan for number 16, swarm number 11, I think I'm gonna take them off the ladder, get them moved into some 10 frame equipment, and I'm going to convert the ladder back into almost like a platform and get that pretty close to the fence, if not on this side of the fence, and then give the bees a day or 2 to settle into their new location, and then eventually I'm just going to move them over here, since that seems to make sense, at least to me right now. But yeah, once I get stuff set up and get going, I'll show a few quick shots. I think this nuke down here is hive number 24, and honestly I have not been in them for quite a while. Meaning close to a month, and they've become a little neglected. One, because they're in a nuke and not really anything of a honey producer this year, but yeah, that is exactly why I am out here finally, to get them transferred over to some 10 frame equipment, because I mean, this is not uncommon this time of year. As you can see, I mean, the hives are going to beard mainly because of the temperature and everything, but it looks like they might be a little overcrowded too, so it's time to grow up and get into some 10 frame equipment. Yeah, just took the lid off, and I had to pry the inner cover loose with all I had. But yeah, check it out. They're doing a fantastic job. This is a shallow frame, one of just a few that I have. Been trying to transition away from them, but part of me says, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. Why get rid of it? But I do have, I think I have 1, maybe 2 shallow 10 frame boxes tops. So one of the hives, one of the nukes down on the other side of the yard, they're also in a shallow, or they have a shallow as a top box. So what I'm thinking about doing is, once I get down there, shaking the bees off, but really just using those 5 frames from that shallow to fill out a 10 frame box, and then eventually just kind of get them all transferred over into a medium. But you know, it's strong comb, it's usable comb, it's good to have on hand, and I like using the shallow frames mainly for this right here. Just whenever I have a nuke, it just gives them just enough space to kind of expand into, and then to use it as food stores as well. Okay, I'm just trying to find the queen, because I look back at the Hive Tracks history for this hive, and yeah, it was about a month ago, about May 25th was the last inspection, but they're looking pretty darn good. Hopefully I can find the queen, because 1, it'd be nice to see her, but 2, she's doing a nice job. There's small larvae in all these open cells too, which means it was just an egg a few days ago. All right, down here at 25, which is a stacked 5-frame, which makes it pretty easy. So I'm just gonna get an empty 10-frame box. Those 10 frames will get moved into that 10-frame, kinda. So I plan on adding a few new frames, and I'm gonna bring a few of the, well, actually, I'm gonna grab 7 of these frames, get it into this box, which obviously will give me 3 frames left over that I'll move up into the top box to really entice the bees to start working between the two. And that is the same thing for 22 over here. So they're a stacked 5-frame configuration, which means they have 10 frames in them. Just to give you all a first look, it's been well over a month. I've just let them do their thing, and it looks like they've done it quite well. Yeah, I'd say she's doing pretty well. Man, that is awesome. Check that out. And then this side is new wax. Beautiful new wax. Let's pull this next one together. Man, yeah, I'd say it's time they got some extra space. All right, just got done smoking number 22, so let's pull the first few frames together, get them transferred over into this deep box, and just kind of see how they've been doing. All right, not terrible. Kind of standard, so just put that on the outside wall. I'm moving two frames from the nuke. I'm gonna put them together, and then I'm putting a nice frame that's heavily waxed in between them. It's like a semi checkerboarded setup, and the whole idea is it'll kind of force the bees to work that frame that's in between them, and hopefully draw that out with any sort of remaining nectar flow. And not bad at all. And there she is right there, if you can see her. Let's get her caged for safety reasons. Nice. Yeah, that's a nice looking queen. All right, yeah, now it's just a matter of moving the frames over. All right, just bang the rest of the bees that were in the box into their new home. Kind of got them a little feisty, but yeah, let's get this queen released, and they are good to go. All right, and she's off. Just about wrapping things up. So the 3 nukes that were on the hive stand are now in 10-frame equipment, which means I am at my final destination for today, which is swarm number 11, hive number 16, which you've seen in the stacked purple 5-frame configuration. So check this out. How's this for thinking outside the box? So I wanted to transform the ladder into a platform, and it just so happens, even once I raise the electric fence, it'll still serve its purpose, same height, but it should make for a pretty easy time transferring the 10 frames out of the box into the 10 frame. And as I say all this, I do remember I did not find the queen upon transferring them from the swarm trap, which is right there, which also means she is unmarked and does not have a clipped wing. So I'm just going to keep that in mind. I am going to spend some time looking over each frame for the queen. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because it is getting late. It's about 7, maybe 7 o'clock. There's still like another hour of daylight before it becomes twilight. there's a lot of light left, which is a fantastic time of year to get out into the bees in the evening. But yeah, I'm just gonna spend some time looking over the 10 frames. If I find her, I find her. If I don't, that's fine. I'll just incorporate them into a routine inspection cycle. And then the other cool thing that comes to mind with the platform idea is basically where the hive is the general area where they were, obviously a little higher. So I'm going to transfer the frames into the 10 frame, slide the 10 frame over to where the stacked 5 frame nuke is for now, and then maybe each day just inch it a little closer, and then I can just drag the ladder, which is kind of cool, and then that is their final destination right there. So I've never done this before. If you've watched my channel, this is truly a first, but so far I like the idea. All right, I am done. So honestly, number 16, the reason I didn't really show you much of that, I am embarrassed to even show that colony to anybody, because surprisingly, for the amount of time they were in the stacked 5 frame configuration, this is the one colony this year that really did not do as well as the others, and I attribute that to the foundation they were given was lightly waxed, and definitely none of the frames that I heavily waxed probably over a month ago at this point. So I would have swapped a lot of the frames that are in 16 with a lot of the deep frames that I ended up not using when I was combining the nukes or transferring the nukes from the 5 frame setup to the stacked deeps. But because I wanted to kind of clean up as I went, I ended up moving all those frames back into some empty boxes behind the shed, and I should have just left them out here. I didn't think I was going to need them, quite frankly, but I do, because 16 definitely needs some help. So what I'm thinking about doing is next weekend, getting back into 16, or maybe throughout the week, swapping out all of the frames that they're really not doing anything with some frames that are heavily waxed, and get a feeder into them. And between heavy feeding them and providing them frames with heavily waxed foundation, there's enough time in the season to where they can rebound and really become a thriving hive. Because what they have going on right now, if I don't do anything, if I don't try to intervene, they will probably not make it through the first month or two of winter. So I haven't really talked about that much. It's late June and I'm already thinking about winter plans, right? So you always have to be thinking about a season ahead. In fact, the first day of summer, I believe, was yesterday. So I'm skipping fall and already looking into the winter, which is the most challenging part for beekeepers. Kind of depends where you are in the country. So even though eastern North Carolina, coastal Carolina has pretty mild winters, we do get enough cold days and sub-freezing days to where if you don't take the right measures, the right preparation with your colonies, it only takes a little bit. And in fact, this last winter, I think we had a few days that got down into maybe the mid-teens, and it stayed there for maybe 2-3 days, like some really hard freezing rains and very, very freezing temperatures. And that was enough to kill a few of my hives. And I know a few other beekeepers in the county club, they talked about that too. Their hives were doing great leading up to that one day, and that's all it took, and it just zapped the colony. It was just too cold for them. All right, so anyway, that's it for me. This is like the most I've done since about June 10th. So the 10th to the 20th is typically my mid-month video, and then the 21st to the end of the month is my late month video. But for June, I really just have an early June, and then I'll have a late June, because the 10th to the 20th, between the weather we had and a few things that I had going on personally, I just really wasn't out here in the hives much at all. But yeah, hey, stay tuned for the rest of the month. It should be pretty interesting, especially as y'all saw earlier today. I was not expecting to see the bees backfill the supers as quickly as they did over the last 3 weeks since I pulled them for the honey harvest. So yeah, hopefully that's a July thing. If I can harvest just a little more money, basically. If I could harvest a little more honey in July, that'd be pretty cool. All right, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the rest of the month.